Hi, I'm Rachael Hofman from Council Rock North, and I am currently in ninth grade. This is my submission to Intro to Programming. So, what I decided to do was the story of your financial life. Before we start this presentation, I'd like to take a quote from Benjamin Franklin. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. I'd like you to keep that in mind while we go through this presentation. First, I want to look at the prompt given to us. Write an interactive story that occasionally asks what they'd like to do. So I'll be showing my purpose, the coding topics shown, the user experience, and my final thoughts. First, the purpose of my program, the story of your financial life. But before we look at the purpose, I'd like to do a quick overview of what the source code actually looks like. So for this project, I coded in C#. So in the project, if we go all the way down to the bottom, we can see that there's two public records, a public record slide and button. We will be using these definitions throughout the entire code. As you can see, we also have a comment here. I put comments throughout the entire code to increase the easier user readability of the code. So if we start back out at the top here, we have slides, which are defined with their slide text. So we have many slides, and the slides are basically the screens that the user sees throughout the story. And then we have all our buttons. And these buttons is what the user has to input to move to a certain slide. So as we can see, every button has a button text and the slide it will go to if the user types in that button. Now we have the actual method of what the code will run. So if we go down here, first we have a little introduction asking what's your name and using that variable again to introduce the user to the program. Then we have our main code here, which is basically saying if the button text matches the user's input, then it will go to the slide that the button says to go to. And if it doesn't, then it will type not a valid choice. So let's go back to the presentation after we've seen this source code. So what does the program do? It asks questions for the user to answer and changes the path on with the story based on user input. So for example, one of the questions is, what college do you want to go to? Hoffman Institute of Technology or Madawaska State University? Keep in mind, these are made up college names. So if I answer HIT, then my story path would be different to somebody that answered MSU. At the end, it provides a list of all the user's decisions. This is so the user can look back at their decisions and see what to do better next time or see if they did perfect. And it also has a help center for common issues. Number 2, the coding topics. So a list is shown at the end of the program which showcases all of the user decisions, which I previously talked about. An array is used to pleasantly present the information without exceeding the word limit. So let's take a look at this. So if we go right here, we have this method, print with word wrap. This sets a max line width so that it doesn't exceed over it. How it works is just like any other array where it splits the characters into a list and cuts it off at a certain point, which we tell it to based off this code. If we go back to the slide, we also see that methods are used throughout the entire program. So for example, this is a method that would be used. Next, the user experience. Now let's test the user experience by actually running the code. So as you can see, it provides clear instructions to play. We can visit the help center, go back, and keep going through all the questions it asks us to continue our financial life. So now I'll be skipping through this part to go to the end. Okay, so now right here we can see this list of everything that we've chosen. Also, I'd like you to keep in mind that throughout the entire program, you can always say stop to stop the program. Now that you've seen what the user experiences from the code's point of view, I'd also like to talk a little bit about the benefits to the user. As talked about before, the user learns a lot about financial literacy and different concepts such as Roth IRA or an ETF or a savings account. Lastly, we have final thoughts. So this code is an awesome way to teach kids about financial literacy, which was just discussed. It uses lists, arrays, and many methods to run properly. And this code has a lot of potential to expand for future ideas. Specifically, I talk about all these future ideas in the README file, which you can find right here. And as you can see, we have some cool word art right here. And in this last section, I talk about some future ideas, like making it into a window app with clickable buttons. To end off this presentation, I would like to show my works cited in MLA format. Lastly, thank you for listening,